Welcome back. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop here with America's Talking Network. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell as we broadcast from Chicago during the Democratic National Convention, and a lot to tackle. Of course, we've been here all week and watching what happens at the Illinois Democrats' breakfasts and the speeches that are made, but also reviewing some of the things happening around the convention. Yesterday was the day that Governor J.B. Pritzker delivered his address to conventioners in Chicago. We also had some Illinois Republicans looking to get into the State House outside the convention grounds, having some of their voices heard. So we'll touch on those things here with Illinois in Focus Daily, right here with America's Talking Network. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. So let's get into it with the breakfast that Democrats are having each and every weekday morning here. Of course, the convention runs until Thursday, and we'll bring you those reports each and every weekday morning. And be sure to go to thecentersquare.com where you can get updated on the very latest. But the breakfast in the morning, having different types of focus. You've got Senate President Don Harmon, who was one of the key speakers yesterday. And after they had their conversations with the various Illinois Democrat officials in the room for the breakfast, they took questions from the media. Now, one thing we saw Monday night at the convention on the floor when President Joe Biden gave his address was a lot of people holding up signs saying, "We love Joe, we love Joe," and they were chanting that. But I was a little confused, and I had to ask the Senate President, Don Harmon, here in Illinois, if that's the case, if everybody was seemingly on a consensus that they love Joe Biden, why is he not the delegate for, or not the delegate, but the official party nominee for Democrats? And here's Senate President Don Harmon responding to that question.
President Biden did a brave, courageous, and patriotic thing and passed the torch to a new generation. And we're here to support the new ticket, and we're grateful for his service and for his sacrifice.
Now, what's interesting is what we have as the process falling out here is Joe Biden was running, despite people questioning his debate performance and his mental capacity and his physical capacity. He was adamant that he was running for president and he was going to beat Donald Trump. We heard that for weeks after the debate. But then after the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee last month, President Biden made the decision to drop out of the race. He's remaining president, but he dropped out of the race. What happened there? Still a lot of intrigue as to how that decision was made. But you had people on the ground in Chicago at the convention saying they love Joe. Why isn't he the nominee? Again, Senate President Harmon saying that he made a sacrifice, right? And we heard others earlier in the week comparing Biden to George Washington, saying that, he's handing the mantle over to the next generation. But what happened was, procedurally, it's a slating issue because also yesterday on the convention floor, you had the delegates from all across the country officially give their votes to Kamala Harris, not Joe Biden. So it was a bit of a switch, right? A flip. Some people could call that slating. What's slating? Slating is when you have somebody who gets on a ballot despite not running in the primary, and that seems to be exactly what happened with Kamala Harris. Here in Illinois, though, the Democrat-controlled legislature, they prohibit slating. They passed a law this election cycle within the span of 2 or 3 days, and the governor signed it, that spelled out if somebody didn't run in the primary, they can't be put on the ballots by their party. And this is just for state house races, but a Republican running for the state house up here in Chicago, Leslie Collazo, I connected with her outside of the convention. They were talking about school choice and wanting to get the Illinois Invest in Kids School Scholarship Program reinstated. But Collazo shared with me a little bit of what she sees as hypocrisy, and as far as they won't let Republicans slate candidates in Illinois state house races, but everybody seems to be fine with Democrats essentially slating Harris.
Is that I was a slated candidate, similar to Kamala Harris. And I don't understand why it was such a problem for me to try to get on the ballot, but then they go ahead and try to just shove this candidate in our face for president in 2024.
So a lot of interesting thoughts there as far as the slating of candidates and whether or not what we had with Harris is similar to what Republicans are doing in some races across the state of Illinois, and even some Democrats have done it in the past. But regardless, just an interesting kind of split screen, so to speak. Then you had other Q&A at yesterday's Democrat breakfast, in particular, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, talking about why the focus so much has been on the issue of reproductive
I don't
rights,
see this as
the issue of abortion. That seemed to be a theme a lot throughout the convention so far. But the question was, why exactly is that the focus?
No, focus on reproductive rights is the economy. For women to be able to work, for women to be able to take care of our children, for us to be able to put food on the table, reproductive rights and the ability to decide what's best for our bodies is an economic issue.
But I had to ask, about those economic issues. I mean, does that take away from the ability for people to afford groceries, to afford energy, to be able to fill up at the gas tank? What are the economic corrections that are going to be taken, or that have been taken under the Biden-Harris administration? Here's the Lieutenant Governor.
Vice President Kamala Harris has already put forth an economic plan, and of course we'll hear more about that during this week. But look at what she's done. She's talked about wanting to address those everyday kitchen table issues about how to lower prices at the grocery store, how to make sure that we can expand the middle class, how to make sure we uplift all families. On the other side of the aisle, we have people who want to take us backwards, who are only focused on doing what's best for themselves. There are two very different visions for our country. One includes working for the people, and one is about Donald Trump working for himself. They're just not the same.
More questions and answers from the various Democratic officials here in Illinois, including anticipating Governor J.B. Pritzker taking the main stage during prime time of the DNC, and Stratton, who's the lieutenant governor, somewhat previewing a bit of what the governor was expected to talk about.
Well, I'm always looking forward to hearing Governor Pritzker speak, and I'm just so proud of him to have the national stage to talk about all that Illinois has accomplished, and that can really be a model for what we want to see happen in the nation. He's going to give a great speech, and he's going to motivate voters not just from Illinois, but all across the country.
What about a third term?
I'm always supportive of a third term. He's a great governor. Why wouldn't I be?
What about any political ambitions that the lieutenant governor has? She was asked that as well yesterday.
I don't think any of us can focus on what we want to do until we make sure that we elect Kamala Harris as our next president and Governor Walz as our vice president. I think right now I'm just so thrilled to be honored to serve alongside Governor Pritzker. We make a great team, if I can say so myself.
So the speech last night, we'll review that in another segment and hear a bit of another Illinois Democrat talking about the governor not getting picked to be the vice presidential candidate, but still being governor. But Juliana Stratton reiterated something that we've heard Democrats talk about before. Even Senate President Don Harmon had talked about this, how he says there was a real hatred that brewed up in 2008 with the election of Barack Obama. And they saw it even more, they said, in 2012. Well, they say that they see that hatred here as well with the nomination of Kamala Harris to be the presidential candidate.
Well, what I would say is that with the election of our first black president, and in 2016, when we touched that glass ceiling, that ultimate glass ceiling, that the Republicans' response right then and there was to start stripping away everything, all of our rights that got us there. And so here we are on the precipice of being able to elect the first black woman, first South Asian woman, first woman president. And they're not going to be happy. But I really see Democrats coming together both as an act of defiance and an act of resilience to say, this is the direction that our country is going. We're not going backward. And we are coming together strong to make sure that we can keep going in the direction that we are meant to be. When I look at the Democrats gathering today, this is America. And this is what we will continue to protect.
So the thought there being that there's hatred, alluding to what some may say is misogynism or racism, but can there not be a difference in policy that makes somebody not want to vote for Democrats, that makes somebody not want to vote for Republicans? I mean, we've heard a lot about the reproductive rights issues and the tax breaks for the wealthy. But, we seem to, the kind of reflection back into 2016, the basket of deplorables comments, right? Are they trying to characterize half of the voting population as, quote, full of hatred? Fredrick Walls, a Republican running for the State House district here in Illinois in the Chicagoland area, he was also outside of the security perimeter yesterday, and I was able to connect with him yesterday afternoon, and he shared some of his thoughts about how Donald Trump in particular is being mischaracterized considerably by those who oppose him.
You have some older people that, that may say, well, he's racist, and I say, well, just prove it, and then they can't prove it. So then I educate them on Donald Trump. I said, well, do you personally know him, and what has he personally done to you? And they can't say anything. I said, so all you know about him is what the media have showed you. So then I showed them media clips of, like, when Jesse Jackson was running for president, he helped Jesse Jackson out. You know what I'm saying? He was never what the media is portraying him to be. And so, they have their different opinions, but you just have to educate them. And then I educate them on just being a conservative, a Republican. The Republican Party was founded to abolish slavery. Everything about the Republican Party was helping black people. In fact, Lyndon Johnson takes credit for the Civil Rights Act, but the Republican Party was in Congress. They had a two-thirds vote to push through a Democrat Senate filibuster. So it was actually the Republicans were always looking out for the black community, but a lot of people are just not educated. The only reason that black people really vote for the Democrats is because when Kennedy was in jail, someone of his family called King's wife, and when they got him out of jail, that was the Mickey in the drink. That was the Kool-Aid.
So interesting to hear some of the other perspectives on the ground outside of the convention as we are in now day 3. They're doing their thing until Thursday. We're heading back out there, getting another starts to the day, hitting up the Democrat breakfast, and then heading out to the convention for some more interviews. So obviously we'll bring you all the latest with America's Talking Network each and every weekday morning. Illinois in Focus Daily. Be sure to go over to thecentersquare.com and get all of the reports that you need. And don't forget as well to check out all of the various clips and interviews that are available at americastalkingnetwork.com. All right, much more coming up. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell each and every weekday morning here with America's Talking Network.